So today, we're going to talk about something a little different, not really media campaigns. We're going to talk about how we use data intelligence as currency to change city policy for Salt Lake City. But before I get into that, I want to talk about alpacas. Okay? I'm talking about alpacas because I've been at Entrada 6 days, and just a couple of months ago, I was living in London with my family, and now I am here. And I've been asked a ton of questions by all my friends out there as, how'd you get here? What's going on? So I'm going to take one quick minute and bring you all up to speed. So my 50th birthday was St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. I had a ton of people coming out to Ireland. Ballman was coming out. We basically rented out an entire village in Ireland for my birthday. Travel ban came off. That stopped. Nobody came out. And my wife and I are like, well, we got to do something. What are we going to do? So we rented a little house for 3 days in the countryside of England. And we were there, and while we were there, stuff started getting weird. That's when helicopters started flying low. Boris Johnson got COVID. The Queen Mum got on the telly and started telling everybody, hey, do your duty, do your job. And we were there, and instead of being there for just 3 days, we were there for 3 weeks. And my wife said, we probably need to get back to the States. This is not looking so good. And I agreed. I'm like, let's get back to the States. So we got back to the States. We went back to London. It was eerie quiet. There was nobody in London. We had the whole place to ourselves. So we spent our days giving the elderly just food because they couldn't go out to the grocery stores, and my daughter would do little dances for them. Food ended up being booze, and they started sending us to go get them booze. So on our last day, we were leaving London. We had the plane to ourselves after 6 cancellations on British Airways to finally get back into the United States. Plane to ourselves. My 1-year-old had to lay flat for 7 hours just to take naps and watch Peppa Pig. It was the best flight ever. We got back to the States, and I realized I was glad to be back. 2 reasons. 1, my immediate family. It's good to be back with your family when you're doing through a global pandemic. It's not good. And 2 is my tourism family. I've been in the industry 25 years. A lot of my friends are out of work. It was not good, and I came back, and I've been here 25. I wanted to take all my experiences from when I was at MMGY Global, when I was at Adara, and with Entrada, and sort of make those apply them and get better at what we did. So I joined Entrada 6 days ago. And for those of you that don't know Entrada is a company made up of tourism and technology professionals that have been around a long time. And we see that data can make a change, and not just measuring hotel rooms. Getting data for a community so they can get a holistic view of all this data and actually make better lives for the residents and for the visitors that come into their destinations. That's what Entrada is. Very simple. We use data to improve the visitor experience, the residents' happiness, and our own employee growth. That's Entrada. And just this morning, we were awarded FocusWire's Top Hot 25. And Josh just joined us. And I don't know where Josh is, but he's our new employee, but he's somewhere. But we're now up to 13 employees now, I believe. Yeah. So DMOs, you guys have so much data. It's just a data overload, right? There's just so much data. And I get it. There's so much data out there. Most of the DMO research directors look like this guy right now. What do I do with all this data? I need some help. I don't know exactly what to do. I would recommend to all DMOs to find that data unicorn. What is that one bit of data that really helps you make your case to change policy? That's it. So this is the story of what Salt Lake City did with their data. And some DMOs are like, well, I don't have a convention center. That's all right. This data can be applied if you have a bar district, you have a main street, a boardwalk, or a beach district. It's just how Salt Lake used the data. They were down. And here was what was weird. When you think of Utah, you think of outdoors. You don't think of a convention center. Utah has never once marketed a convention center district, ever. That's not what they do. Utah markets the outdoors. This, Red Rocks, skiing. So Utah wasn't doing that bad. They just got $12 million in the CARES Act, right? So they're doing pretty good. And they're thinking, well, what do we do? How best to utilize this $12 million that we just got in the CARES Act? Most of Utah was doing well, except for one district in the whole state was doing horrible. Right there. The Salt Lake Convention Center District, not doing well. But the city of Salt Lake and Visit Salt Lake knew we need to do something about it. This is vital. This is vital to jobs. This is vital to our business community. We need to make a case to get some money out of that CARES Act money. So what they did, they came to us and said, hey, Entrada, can you provide us with some data, some learnings to help us get some of that money? I said, yeah, we can. Let's take a look at some of the data we can provide you. The first thing we provided them was year-over-year geolocation of downtown movement. This is a map of Salt Lake City, and I'm sorry it's red and blue. I know we're all sick of looking at red and blue maps right now, but this is what it is. So red is good. That means that people were actually moving, and those people are up right now. So people were really coming to Salt Lake and going to the outside districts. They were doing very, very well. It was an increase from the year before. People were going outside, but not up here. This is downtown Salt Lake. Nobody was going there. It was a ghost town. So blue was bad. People weren't going there year over year. Now, another client, if you talk to Amsterdam, they're trying to get people out of the downtown district, so they would look at blue as something good. It just depends on how you look at the data. So proof of origin market change. This is the second thing we provided them, all right? Their top markets were these 5. When people came for business, they came from these top 5 markets, flag markets. That was not the case in year 2. Year 2, these were their top 5 markets. And I talked to Caitlin last week, and she said, you know what, if you told me the biggest convention that came to my city was Boise, Idaho, I wouldn't have believed you. That was the biggest convention. So they found out they had 5 new cities that were their top markets they'd never talked to before. So now they knew that. Number 3, and this is extremely important, the visitor economy value of a convention center visitor was the most important visitor they had. They spent so much more money. When we looked and saw somebody that went to the convention center, on average, that visitor went to 2 to 3 more shops, bars, and restaurants a day than people that were not convention center visitors. That's a lot of money. And that's us, guys. When we were at Esto just a few years ago, we were exactly the wheelhouse of what they wanted in the city. I know we spent a lot of money in bars when we were at Esto in Salt Lake City. And even more so, those convention center visitors travel all around the valley. Now, if you just looked at hotel data, you would think that the average night stay was just 2 nights. People came downtown, stayed 2 nights. But we realized they didn't leave the valley. They stayed around. When we tracked them, yes, they stayed a couple of nights in downtown Salt Lake, but then after that, they went elsewhere and spent vacation, brought their kids, went out to the valley, went out hiking, went mountain biking. Once again, us. That was a group of us at Esto, and after we were done with the conference, we went out and went mountain biking and went to breweries. That is what they were able to prove. And the 5th point that we gave them, the comp set was less bad. Meaning, Anaheim was down, Austin was down, Denver was down, Phoenix was down. All of them are hurting in their convention center districts. Salt Lake City, way down, right? That's bad, 63%, way worse than everyone else. So beyond all that data, the people in the area were really suffering. It was a ghost town. There was nobody there. And I'm sorry, if an Olive Garden closes, it's bad, all right? So the Olive Garden closed. These were the 5 pieces of data that we gave them. That was the data intellect that we gave them. They turned that intelligence into currency. They took that data and went to the legislature. They were able to convince them that, hey, out of this 12 million you guys got, you need to give us 2 million so we can help our convention center district. It is so important to the vitality of our state and our city. And that's what they did. And here's what I really like what Visit Salt Lake did. They didn't just get the $2 million and just say, hey, let's spend some money on marketing, let's just put some more ads about our convention center. They didn't do that. They put it on incentives. So if you stayed in a downtown hotel, maybe you got $100 at a food coupon. Or if you flew in on Delta, you got a $200 gift certificate to fly Delta. That's what they did, and that's how they could show redemption from that. These are some of the incentives on the website. So if you went there, there were tons of different passes that they made available if you went and stayed in a downtown hotel. And we're really excited now because just last week, ski passes. If you stay in a downtown hotel, you can go out and go skiing for free. That's a huge offer to get people to stay downtown. Here's what they were able to accomplish. Out of that money, they got 1.2, the other 800,000 got split between other convention districts around the state. But Salt Lake used all that money in 1 month. That's huge. 1 month. So they were actually able to show this is how many people came to our down hotels, and now that made a great case if they needed more money for future campaigns. They were also able to get the policymakers to trust the data and the results. They now had an information stream to the policymakers continually saying, here's what we're doing, right? They kept the downtown business afloat, and they were able to prove that. The new revenue stream from smaller groups and Drive Market, There were no more citywides. So their convention sales staff started cold calling, getting like yellow pages out, calling drive market conferences, and they were able to get a new revenue stream that way, which resulted in new visitors to Salt Lake that they never would have had before. That's what they took with the money. That's what they did when they got it, and they were very successful and made a really good case for this convention center district. So Eric Thompson, you all know him? He's the VP of marketing there. We were working on this case study together, and he sent me this photo, and he said, hey, Ted, the cranes are moving again, you know, Salt Lake City, it's rising. He was very pumped, and I think that's awesome to see. So my advice is get a unicorn. There's a ton of data out there, but there's a lot of data that really specifically can help you make the case to change policy and to get more money. Focus on the visitor experience, use the data to focus on the resident happiness, and your own employee growth. That's what we stand for at Entrada, and I guess I don't have a final closing slide, but it's gone. So that is the case study for Salt Lake City. I just think it's very interesting to see how people are changing policy in our industry more so than they ever have in the past, and they're justifying things beyond just hotel bed tax. And that's what I was really wanting to show you guys today. So thanks very much.